Good morning, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
2025. Doesn't it feel strange to write the date?
I got it right the first time. I can't believe it. First.
I haven't written a check in a long time, and I had to send off a government fee. And so I had to write a check. First of all, find the checkbook and then make the error on the check with the date. And we need to fix that. But anyway, welcome back. Hope you've all had a great break. I know some people are still stumbling back from break, so we're not going to have Myra on the call. But normal business will resume next week. So we've been holding the work group meetings. The work group meetings still went on, but I attended only a few of them. Many of them were sparsely attended. I know the 8 o'clock product management meeting this morning was sparsely attended, but thanks all.
Actually, Riza, the 8 o'clock meeting was very active today and went on till 9:15. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Well, we'd love to have a report on that. So what I'd like to do today, we got no guest speaker, but we did prepare a 36-page annual report for all of our activities last year. And I thought it'd be instructive for us to go through that, have a discussion about that, and that would be a good way to reflect upon what we did. We'll have the normal work group updates, and then voices of any new members, and so we can move on. You will have all received in the mail a copy of the work, the annual report. Let me bring that up and share it on the screen. There it is. I'll share it in the Google Doc version. Okay, let's do one page at a time. Excellent. There we go. And there we go. Hopefully you're all seeing it.
No, Riza, we see your desktop with the tabletop mounted.
Let's not do that then. Okay. Stop the share. Zoom is always nice and funky about this. There it is. How's that?
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
And Riza, if you could expand it so we could see it slightly bigger.
Yeah, I'll do that.
That is better. Thank you.
Okay. Doesn't give me a, let me see if I can see more windows. No, let's go to here. Okay. Well, look, you're seeing it there. You can all, I'm not going to read this to you. This is my cover letter of what we did. And it ended up with a kind of call to action. In an era where AI threatens to concentrate power and wealth, Kwaai stands as the counterforce, a non-profit, volunteer-driven open source movement building AI that truly serves humanity. We cannot wait for government regulation or corporate responsibility to shape AI's future. As I often say, there's no cavalry coming. You are the cavalry. Together with our members, partners, and sponsors, we enter 2025 ready to fulfill our mission of democratizing AI for the benefit of all. Onward. Okay, great. So that phrase, it's interesting when I put the whole report into my favorite AI tool, which is the one I'm using at the moment is Claude. I said, pick out some sound bites that'll make compelling posts on LinkedIn. It picked out that there's no cavalry coming, you are the cavalry. And I posted that, and it got a reasonable uptake. So yeah, there's use for the centralized AI systems. So on the second page, we reiterated our mission. For those of you that are new to Kwaai, the purpose of the corporation, the non-profit corporation, is democratize the field of artificial intelligence through development of open source tools, promoting personal self-sovereign AI, policy that better aligns AI with human values, and research into fundamental AI that'll make models smarter, faster, and greener. And we're doing all of that. And the rest of the report reported on our progress along those three work streams towards AI. So, Az, was that a question, or did you? Your hand went up briefly. Okay,
Yes,
I'll
Krishna, I
continue.
wanted to briefly ask on in the first page, you said the third annual summit. I think you wanted to say second annual summit, right?
No, we had one in 2023. The
I see.
2023 summit was held at College of the Canyons. The second one was held at Scale, and we're coming up for the third one now.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. I didn't know that. Appreciate
Okay, so what did we do? We increased our membership to 700. In fact, at the end of the summer, we stopped our recruiting efforts because membership was actually growing too fast, faster than we could onboard people, and we were suffering churn of people getting on, not being onboarded well, and getting frustrated and then churning out. And I'd rather slow the membership growth, have high value contributors that are engaged, rather than having people come in wasting our time and their time, and then churning out and getting frustrated. So that's not good. So we slow down our onboarding. We slow down our recruitment. At the end of the summer, we were at about 500. We thought we were going to get to 1,000, but slowing down recruitment got us to about 700, which is a comfortable number. We enrolled 30 academic institutions. Well, 30 members of academic institutions applied to have the AI, the educational beta come to their campus. We haven't fulfilled that. Well, we've got it running on the Cornell campus. We created one for a Harvard professor, Bruce Schneier, and it was running on the Rutgers campus as well. That system is shut down. But that is an unfulfilled promise. We need the second bullet, we need to fulfill that promise of launching the EDU beta. We are really close. We could use more help on that. We ended the year thinking that we were going to have it deployed in the GPU cloud of iBridge. We were tantalizingly close, and then people went on vacation and went on their break. So we're going to start next week, and we're hopefully going to get that installed. We launched the EMEA chapter. So Christian Randieri is the EMEA director that was appointed. He's actually in Syracuse in Sicily, so it's not very convenient for the rest of Europe, and we're looking to broaden his reach, find out other EMEA region collaborators. So it's not just Europe, it's Middle East and Africa. And in fact, I didn't mention here, he gets mentioned later on, Abdul Rahman, who's been a consistent contributor, has become the ambassador for the Africa region. So that's that's the third bullet point. The last bullet point is really important. We held 50 Kwaai Day weekly public meetings like this one, and we had some high value guest speakers, and we list all of them. Here's my shout out to, or call to action for all of you. Go through your Rolodex. Maybe these aren't even first-person connections, but people you admire, people that you want to bring as a guest speaker. Let us know, and we'll go and invite them. We'll go and get them, and it is possible. We've had some amazing people. You know, most recently, Chris Ye, who's co-author of Blitz Scaling. You all know this book. This is one of the must-read textbooks if you're trying to scale a startup. And he was co-author of that with Reid Hoffman. We had Faye Arjamandi. We had Ben Moskowitz of Consumer Reports, Matt Bird, CEO of ESGN News, Bruce Schneier, world-leading cryptographer. I'm not going to go through all the names, but you all recall the folks that were on here. The recordings of those guest speaking slots are on the events page of the Kwaai website. So here the next page is talking about the organizational overview. It works better in diagram form. Let me just try and shrink that so you can see it better. It's got a 3-body structure, which is, hey, very reminiscent of of other structures. Anyone that signs up in the application form to be an advisor is part of the advisory council, and we seek their advice. The executive officers seek their advice continuously. They also generate propositions. Propositions get put to the board. When the board meets, the board votes on it. The board is not a day-to-day management organ. It is not a body that sits continuously. They opine maybe once a quarter, once a year, on important issues of governance and strategy. The board guides and elects the executive officers. That's how our bylaws are constructed. And we went through that process. We first of all elected a new board. The old initial board elected a new board. We've got a fantastic board, and that board then went and elected a new group of executive officers. It was me and Afshin. We stood again for our old posts, but the board elected Zachary and Myra to become officers as well. So let's go through the board. Larry Namer is former founder of E! Entertainment. Ruth Rasool is a professor of English. My wife, she's the academic liaison, a board member, and so that's her sort of domain of responsibility. Ted Cohen, former music exec, he's now a professor at Tulsa University. Rika Nakazawa, senior exec at NTT, and Sam Johnston, our very own Sam Johnston. He's a board member, and he heads our PiOS initiative, as well as I made changes to this, but he's also our open source lead. Okay, Eunice is on the board as well, and Eunice was one of our early champions by getting Arcus Nexus, where he was CEO, to support Kwaai. Great, you all know Doc Searles. Doc Searles is an officer, but he's kind of got an honorary title of Chief Intention Officer, and Christian Randieri is EMEA Director. Zachary's Vice President, and Myra is Secretary, and Afshin stood again for President. I've got 3 roles. I'm board chair, I'm CEO, and I'm treasurer. Someone else had stepped forward for the treasurer role. I would have been happy, but the treasurer role is not that onerous. It's basically doing the annual tax return and making sure the books are in order. So we cover, well, we've actually got a global footprint, but not officially. I think we launched largely covering the Americas, then we launched the EMEA chapter. Our ambition is to become a global organization. And you can read through this, how the demographic of the population is going to affect our target demographic, and how we should adjust for a demographic. It's largely the demographic that current economists call consumers. We don't call them consumers. We believe that individuals are more than passive consumers of vendors' products. Individuals, we think AI can elevate them to be more active and more of makers and producers and creators as well. And personal AI can unlock that role in an economy, and can potentially invigorate an economy in ways that the current worldview does not recognize. If you look at the various ontologies of business, and I know Don Duval, I'm not sure if he's on the call, but he's hot on the word ontology. The current ontology, for instance, let's say you're going to register for a conference, it forces you into the slots that they've predefined for you. We believe that personal AI can be a hugely empowering force that will transcend, it'll allow individuals to break out of that role of being a passive consumer and becoming more active. And I think the economic activity that would be unleashed is something that's not on the current, it's not accounted for in the current GDPs of countries and in economies. So let me plant that seed in your mind. We can broaden that later on. We need to, that our target demographic is going to be aging, and so we need to be thinking about them, about how personal AI serves them. Well, they're going to be becoming increasingly diverse. You know, technologies, normally when you think about your target audience for technology, it's a sophisticated, urban, Western target audience. That's not the case. Looking forward, if we're looking forward, as we should be doing, as a non-profit can do, we can play the long game, and we should be looking forward. So we should be looking at a target audience that's growing. We should be looking at the generation alpha. You know, there's this term mobile first. This generation alpha that's coming of age in the next decade will be an AI first generation. They will be so used to using AI and having personal AI as an augmentation. It's not artificial intelligence. If it's informed by your own personal knowledge, by your own personal data, and the personal data of people you trust you've collected, then it is amplified intelligence. It's your intelligence amplified. It's you, but a better version of you. And so in the same way that we use automation to amplify the things we do, the laborious things we do, in the same way we use electricity to amplify our human muscle power, artificial intelligence will be an amplification of our own intelligence. It's not an artificial intelligence, it is an amplification if we do it right. If, however, we are consigned to be dumb consumers, and the notion is that there's a half a dozen vendors with their artificial intelligence service serving us for $19 a month, then it's not amplified intelligence. It is a service that we're consuming. It makes us dumber. There are emerging markets that we should be looking at, and we, gosh, in the Western world, we decry the reduction in our standard of living and the standard of living of the middle class. It's actually counterbalanced by the rise of a middle class in former colonial territories. And so there is maybe there's a conservation law that we haven't discovered yet. And it's not something that we should moan about. I think the important thing that we should be focusing on is how AI raises all boats, and not and so that becomes an opportunity. The emerging markets with a rising middle class becomes an opportunity for personal AI. So we should be aware of, and so having thought about how our demographic, our target audience is going to evolve over the next decade, the next generation, we should think about our implementation priorities, what we want to do in the next 1 to 2 years, what's our medium-term strategy, and what's our long-term strategy. Look, we know what we want to do this year. This year, we want to get our beta out. We want to get it to general availability. We want it to be generating revenue, and we want to grow adoption for it. We will be growing the features and functions of it. We want it to become smarter, faster, and greener. And so the smarter part is exploring all sorts of areas like GraphRag and community knowledge bases and ways in which we can make AI smarter, having been informed by personal knowledge. There's lots of literature that's coming out saying AI has reached the end of the road in terms, it's consumed all of the publicly available data. The next great data opportunity, which is probably orders of magnitude bigger, is personal data. And of course, we don't want to continue the Faustian bargain that we have been consigned to. The Faustian bargain that creates this asymmetric dynamic where businesses dictate the terms of engagement while individuals face the false choice between participation and privacy. You remember Chris Ye being on the call saying, hey, the advertising models worked really well. And no one's come up with anything that's different. That is the Faustian bargain. It's basically saying, hey, in order to get this service that I have, your only choice is to give up your privacy. That is the Faustian bargain that we've all embarked on, that we've all signed up to, and we want to flip the script on that. We want to turn B2C into me to B. And if Doc was on the call, he'd talk at length about that. So when we flip the script on that, your data remains under your control, processed locally by your personal AI. AI serves as your agent, not a double agent, as Bruce Schneier warns us of. It's negotiating with businesses on your terms. Privacy becomes a fundamental right, not a premium feature. You decide what information you share and with whom. You'll have the way of controlling entitlements to your information. And if you do share data, your personal private data, it'll be homomorphically encrypted, scrambled, so that you can control that sharing of the data. You can grant and then revoke the entitlement. So you decide, and AI works for your benefit, not for corporate interest. So it's not spying and eavesdropping on you as it is in the current model. Yes. So this is what we are promising, and we need to figure out how we deliver on that promise. You've seen this ecosystem diagram before. Kwai's in the middle. We're working on these 3 tracks towards personal AI. On the left-hand side is our recruitment funnel. Here's all the resources, human resources that go into the organization. Individual volunteers like yourselves. We've got development partners like Arcus, like iBridge, and we've just onboarded a new development partner, Dynamic, and we'll get them to come in. Academic partners like Harvard and Cornell and Rutgers and the 30 academic institutions that want to become part of the beta. Of course, we need funding. But look what we've done without any funding. I'll go through the economics before, but there's only so much you can do with goodwill and tired hours and time between jobs. We actually do need hard cash coming in order to make sure that we're a vibrant, credible organization and not going cap in hand, asking for donations like a pathetic charity. We need to be self-sufficient. So yes, we do have a donation button on the website, and it's generated some funds. We can go into that. We are applying for grants, and there's a good grant funnel, and we've got now a director of grants, Dave Waterbury, who's working with Afshin to drive that grant funnel. It's about a $40 million funnel of opportunities. Hey, if we land 10% of that, we're it's going to be a good income. Sponsors for events. I'm going to be asking each of you to help us and to help Jim Chappell, who's heading that sponsorship funnel. And Jim is a veteran no nonsense professional in the space of managing revenue funnels. He doesn't like the title Chief Revenue Officer for Kwaai, but at the moment he is. Okay, in-kind donations. Well, you know what you're doing is you are giving us your hours. That is an in-kind donation. Unfortunately, the IRS doesn't see it as a tax deduction. We can't give you a charity receipt for every hour you've provided. It used to be the case, but that got changed in the tax code some while back. However, when capital equipment and services are donated to us, like when iBridge donates its GPU hosting data center to us and hosts our back end there, that's tax deductible because that's a quantifiable service that they would have sold elsewhere. Although I'm not an accountant, I don't play one on TV. Don't take tax advice from me. In-kind contributions, I'll go through how much we clock there. And then we're going to start talking later on about what is the opportunity for for-profit investment in a non-profit. No, not in a non-profit, but we are starting to put together a venture studio that would be in support of Kwaai. So more about that later on, but I'm giving you a little teaser of what's going on. We haven't started speaking to the right-hand side of the ecosystem, the users of personal AI, because we have no product to give them yet. So when we're ready for that, we will start that conversation, whether it's to individuals or whether it's to enterprises. Okay, so our core pathways, as I mentioned, was our work on the personal AI operating system and the personal assistant. We are tantalizingly close to having that deployed in the data center so everyone inside Kwaai can start kicking the tires on it. We are making very, very exciting progress in the area of fundamental AI. And remember that the notion of the research, the themes of the research is smarter, faster, and greener. In the area of smarter, if you join the life sciences group, you'll see how Diego has used GraphRag and Shad has been supporting him. They've created a model that you can ask about adverse drug reactions. And this model, they've increased the accuracy all the way from 50% to 60 to 80, and now it's 98 to 100% accurate. How did they do that? Well, they built a model based on the drug leaflets of all the prescription drugs they could find, and now you can query that with natural language. So how would it be deployed? Well, you can imagine a doctor deploying it and entitling their patients to say, okay, rather than calling the office, here's a customer support bot. You can go and talk to this, and it'll be armed with your personal medical history and the prescription drugs that you've been assigned. It'll know that, and you can describe your symptoms, and it'll say whether that's an adverse reaction to a drug you're on. That seems like a feature of a broader healthcare personal assistant, and so it's still in the research phase, but you can see that feature being rolled out as an assistant as a feature in a broader application. Ryan, if he's on the call, no, he's not, would be able to talk about the policy work, especially. I think the most progress we've made in the second half of the year was in the alignment survey, and he'll have something to report on that in the coming weeks. So personal AI, look, this is a tired old diagram, but this is the only demo we have. It was Balaji who put this together in a very short space of time to illustrate what personal AI could be like, what a personal assistant that you could talk to, how you could have a conversation with your knowledge. In fact, it's the one on the right, the Penny assistant, that's actually been deployed in Ruth's class, the English 101, English 103, I think. And the way that it was used is it illustrates how a professor can upload their course curriculum material and then entitle students to be able to query it with natural language. So it becomes a customer support bot for a professor, and it saves the professor time that they would have had to answer in emails, and it also allows students to access it in 24/7. So they don't have to waste the students' time. Here's some illustration of the work that Diego's done. You can find the full report in the AI for Med Slack channel. That's the life sciences channel. They reduced the name to AI for Med. And you can also find the progress. We didn't put the details in there because this report was getting super long. It was it's 36 pages long. We're 11 pages. We're not going to go through all of it, okay? But the subquadratic neural network research that Daryl's been doing is an example of the research into making AI models faster. And then making AI models greener includes the work that Brian Ragazzi and Balaji and now Ryan's working on. And it's taking a knowledge base, realizing that you're not going to have enough compute power at home to search a large knowledge base. You have to distribute it. And so distributed RAG becomes a feature, and it will become a feature of a future infrastructure for AI, a peer-to-peer digital public infrastructure. And of course, the very first resistance to that is saying, hey, I don't want my personal data stored on my neighbor's computer, even if it's just a fraction of it. And so we had to research into homomorphic scrambling. And I have to say, we have a good candidate set of algorithms for homomorphic scrambling, and they are the subject of 2 grant applications. So we'll see how that goes. But that would be key to getting AI down from the clouds of the oligopoly, running at the edge and distributing the infrastructure in the same way that the electrical grid has now moved power generation to the edge, where more people can participate in the power economy than they used to be able to do a generation ago. And it's that type of maturing and transformation of a network, of an infrastructure, that I see Kwaai could be steering the industry towards. Okay, we talked about policy. Open source, look, open source is a huge feature. We didn't realize how much of how important this was. And frankly, I'm learning about it as well. But Sam Johnson has been driving our commitment to open source, and especially the subversion of open source that has happened over. It's actually happened over the last generation. The initial definition of open source allowed anyone to take an open source project. If it had the label of open source, you'd be able to get access to all of the source and recreate the product from scratch. And that definition has been under assault over the last decade, maybe 2 decades. First of all, by the cloud movement. That was the first assault on open source, and then now more recently AI, where Meta is leading the charge, or the initiative to subvert the definition of open source so that it doesn't include training data. We believe that open source AI should include the training data. Kwaai itself does not produce foundation models, but we want to build product where the users are not encumbered by any proprietary intellectual property. And so we don't want to be a distribution vehicle for a particular vendor's secret source that they've kind of hidden in the code, and where they can later on say, hey, that's proprietary to us. We've seen movements like this utterly subverted. The Java movement, gosh, Java was free and it was open source, and then it got acquired by Oracle, and now you have to pay. And yes, you can still get the old version of Java, but now all sorts of important security updates and so on. Yeah, if you want the patches beyond a certain version, now you have to pay. And so you get altruistic movements, open source, volunteer, nonprofit movements that get subverted by industry. We should be really wary of that and guard against that. Not sure what the solution is, but I'm planting a seed in your mind for everyone to think about how we do that. AZ, you were talking about, hey, is this the second or the third summit? Well, it turns out the one we had in 2024 was in fact the second summit. We actually had one in 2023. You can go and find the recordings of those on the website. And so we are hoping to have our 2025 summit, which will be our third one, and a huge, well, we're going to get a huge hall. We had a small room before that seated about 100, 150 individuals, and we packed that out, and people were lined up in the corridor waiting to get in, waiting for seats to come available. And it was a great recruitment event for all of us. We've held 50 Kwaai weekly public meetings. That is just a fantastic achievement. That's what we've held this year. Previous year we held, I don't know, 23 or so, because we started in the summer. So we've been consistent. That's one of the things about a movement, is just being consistent. It's just showing up and assembling together. And I think that's an important consistency and integrity. There was a book, was it a Malcolm Gladwell book? I think it was Good to Great. And one of the secrets to success was just this thing, this stick-to-itiveness. I think it came from that book, where he said, the recipe for success is getting up every morning, making your bed, brushing your teeth, going to work, and pushing on the rock. And the rock doesn't move. You get up the next morning, you go to work, and you go and push on the rock. And you do that, and you do that. And one day, the rock starts to move. And you couldn't predict it, but the rock starts to move. And now you're pushing, and you're pushing, and you're amplifying that movement. So people try and predict, when is the rock going to move? Well, we don't know. But you have to get up every morning, and you have to go to work, and you have to push on that rock. And that's what we all do. And we're all doing that in our own business. I see many of you on the call, and that is the stick-to-itiveness that's important. And I see that in our organization. Okay. Here's our financial performance. Gosh. Okay. We opened up a checking account in the beginning of the year. We took in 3,600, not a lot. We paid out 3,400. We have a closing balance of $200, 200 and a bit. There's also a savings account of 200. Okay, so that is the sum total of the cash in hand. We were also granted a credit facility. Thank you very much, JP Morgan Chase. They believed in our organization, and we have no long-term leases. We were granted a $50,000 credit facility, and we've consumed a good chunk of that. And so we have a little bit of runway left. Thankfully, this is not the only source of income, but it's a great way to buffer us to when revenue starts coming in. Okay, so you can go and look at that, the details of the cash flows, what came in, the donors, and the breakdown of where our expenses went. They're really in three buckets: professional services, travel and conference activities, and then back office running costs. last year they were roughly a third, a third, a third. But it's interesting to understand how they will grow in the next year. The professional services for this year were largely one-time setup services. Some of them were maybe overspends where we were testing out different ways of growing and setting it up. But it's likely that our professional services for next year will actually be lower than they were this year. We won't have those one-time setup costs. Travel and conference will likely be larger, but they'll be offset by revenue that comes in, because the two big summits that we're going to hold, one is going to be the US, this personal AI summit in March, and then there's one in June in Venice in Italy, the Kwaai EMEA summit. Those will be sponsored events, and the sponsorship funnels of those, at least the first one, is well underway. The second one will start soon. The back office running costs will probably actually grow with membership. And if you look at, you can actually see, I'm not going to go through it here, but you can actually see all of our costs and how they evolved. It's a bit of an eye chart to read here, but ProServe, which professional services, will probably be about 10K for next year. Conferences will be higher, offset by event revenue and maybe returning a surplus. It's interesting to look at the cost per member per month. Well, when you look at the back office costs, we pay for Zoom, we pay for Google, we pay for AWS, we pay for a whole bunch of things. Gosh, MailChimp. I've been going through all of the credit card receipts. Well, not credit card receipts, but just the report from the looking at the accounts for 2024. $2.84 per member per month is our running cost. It's interesting. Okay. I mean, if you were to think about making a donation, that would put you, break even if you were to just cover those costs. So, and I'm grateful to the automation activity of Suniti. Suniti's on break at the moment, but she's been instrumental in driving the automation to help us keep that cost level down. And Eunice and Suniti and a few other people have been on that automation group, and we will probably get that cost per user down, cost per member down to about $2 per month per user. Okay, so I don't think we're going to grow the membership that fast. What I'm learning and what we've learned as an organization is that just opening up the floodgates is not the right thing to do if you're trying to create an organization of AI critical thinkers, as you all are. Okay, so we don't want our time wasted, and we don't want to waste other people's time. So we want to make sure that this is a home for people that are ideating on the future and are aligned with our mission. Great. So yeah, some thoughts on what the revenue should be. Donor recognition. Gosh, we've got to call out Arcus Nexus. When you cost up their contribution, it's well over $1 million since they started contributing. So I'm grateful. And that's hard cash, because they've been paying the payrolls of 6 or 7 developers who've been contributing to the personal assistant. iBridge, thank you so much to Gary Lamb, to Jeff Kramer, to Paul Smitham for making their GPU cloud available to us. They're hosting our proof of concept, a number of instances of that, and they will be hosting our beta, and we want to get there as quickly as possible. They've all given us letters of testimonial. You can go and look at it. It's in the appendix of the report. SwissVault, Joe Suppers would be normally a regular on here, and he's been a super connector for us. In fact, it was through Joe Suppers that we got connected to iBridge. Joe Suppers from a company called Swiss Vault, and Swiss Vault, their business is distributed storage. That'll be a core component of our infrastructure. I want to thank Wiley for their pro bono legal services. Wiley was the pro bono attorneys for the COVID International Research Team, which was the non-profit research group that Afshin ran. And so when we described Kwaai to Wiley, they said, right, we'll do that. We'll be your external counsel. And we have internal counsel, Mark Vega, but external counsel providing pro bono services. And Wiley's a top-notch East Coast, Virginia, DC law firm. I'm being a bit forward here by saying we're grateful to the support from Future Life Institute, Mozilla, and Emerson Collective. We have grant applications in with all three of those, and I'm hoping that will deliver. Mike Grossman, you offered an introduction, I think, and looking forward to that. In fact, the things you could all do is make introductions to getting our mission. Doc Searles, gosh, Doc Searles, super connector. He's got us connected to Inflection. We're going to be having, in February, we're going to be having Sean White, the CEO of Inflection, on the call and as a guest speaker. So we're looking forward to that. Doc's got us connected to all sorts of people in his Rolodex, and we're grateful to that. But we're also grateful to Doc's Project VRM as being a guiding reference document. It's the thing that we should be implementing in the PiOS and in our distributed infrastructure. I've called out the top 10 Slackers. Like, this is just the hard numbers out of Slack. Debbie, Balaji, Michael, all the way through to Sam. You see your name here. Thank you so much for being so active on Slack. Top 10 developers. This is based on hard numbers out of the GitHub repos. Thank you so much. All the way from the Arcus developers, Roy, Cyan, Anna, Melanie, Emiliano, and then Sam, Patricia, Roberts, Selim, and Sanu have been top contributors to the PiOS. And then top researchers all the way from Diego and Pinar in life sciences with Andre, and then Ryan in policy, and then Daryl Medford, Brian on making AI smarter and faster and greener, smarter. Christopher has also contributed, and then Marcus contributed on policy. And then special thanks to all of these key individuals. I'm not going to go through all of your names. If you see your name there, great. If you don't see your name there, send me a one-liner, and the online version we can add that. Here's your contribution to us. It's grown, and the area under this curve, at least the dollar curve of in-kind contributions, this one on the right-hand side, the area under the curve sums to just over $9 million. Imagine that. Imagine if this was a startup, that would be $9 million in payroll that we would have had to pay out. So what are we going to do with all of that goodwill and that energy and the movement that we've created? We've got momentum. 4 major goals. The personal AI beta. Let's make that happen. If you can contribute to the code development to get that over the hurdle, do so. Attend the Pi Assistant meeting, attend the PiOS meetings, and make that happen. But then once it's deployed, we're going to need to be kicking the tires on it. And so we now then move into a QA phase where we've got lots of people, all of you, kicking the tires on the deployment. And then the bugs that we generate should feed into rework. And that would be kind of the alpha testing before we release it to the 30 organizations that are waiting for it.
So over there, that should be QA, not GA, in the
GA
when
means
column.
general availability. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. So yeah, so in end of Q1, we want to deploy to beta and general availability in Q2. That means we're going to release it to the public in Q2. That's an ambitious goal. It means that we need to accelerate our development. This is the thing about a volunteer organization. It doesn't run at the same speed as a for-profit payrolled organization. And I don't know what to do to alter that. Maybe this is something we just accept. But it runs at maybe 1/10 of the rate. That's not good. And we need to figure out how we can improve that. Okay, so there's a summit coming. Success metrics would be 300 attendees, a revenue of 20K, and 10 high-value speakers. It's going to run March 6 through 9. If you want to join the work group that's running that to make sure it's a success, find the summit meeting or reach out to Matt Small, reach out to me, and we can get you an invite to that meeting. John Connors is running the hackathon. Success metric would be getting 30 contestants. The hackathon's going to start mid-February. It's going to reach its culmination at the summit. There's a bit of confusion about, hey, do we have the room for it? This is all the logistics that we're going to figure out in the next week or so. There's also going to be an EMEA summit, and that's going to be an event in Venice, in Italy, in June. Try not to think about it yet. Maybe we'll start the planning for that in a month from now. We are not managing the overall summit. Again, we're programming the AI track for somebody else's conference. So it's going to happen, but it's not our immediate priority. I think the summit in Pasadena, California, is our immediate priority. Fiscal sort of priorities, we're looking for not a lot, 5K in donations. That's not a lot. That's through the donations button that's on the website. $1 million in grants. Well, we've got a grant funnel of about 40 million. If we get 10% of that, it's 4, but I think we're only targeting 1 million. 1 million to be successful. Event sponsorship for the summit, 50K. Corporate membership. We've not yet invited corporate members. That's fee-paying members who want to be part of this organization and want to have a seat at the table. We've not started that yet, but Jim Chappell will be running that funnel as well. And we're ironing out what the packages would look like. What is a platinum, gold, silver membership? What do they get? We are extremely aware of the adverse effect of having corporations as part of the organization. I see Doc's just joined. Doc, we're going through the annual report.
Okay, thanks.
Fantastic. Growth opportunities. We can grow donations. We can run our grant writing. We can grow our grant writing operation. Currently, it is Day Waterbury and Afshin are heading that. So here's what our grant funnel looks like, and you can see our activity. So we had a 44 million funnel. 49 million. And here's what we got rejected. We applied and we got rejected. Here's a number that we put in the funnel, but we missed because we just ran out of time. Here's the number that we actually submitted. And here is what's still in play. So if you want to participate in that, contact Grant, contact Day Waterbury, contact me, contact Afshin. Okay, event sponsorship. If you've got ideas of folks that could be sponsors for the summit. So thank you so much, Matt. Matt introduced us to Sneak. It looks like Sneak will be a likely sponsor for the organization for the event in Pasadena. We talked about corporate membership, and we will probably be opening up corporate membership this year, and we want to do it carefully, but it's important to also bring along the rest of the industry. Personal AI hosting, well, that's, well, counting our chickens before they're hatched, before the software is actually deployed, alpha tested, beta tested, and then made available for general availability. The deal is it's free if you host it yourself. However, if you want us to host it, and that'll be in the iBridge data center, then we'll make that available, and we will and that's an opportunity for Kwaai to earn a revenue share with iBridge. Okay, in-kind donations. That's the stuff that you do. That's the stuff that you do just by showing up. Those in-kind donations will probably grow to about 15 million. They're at 9 million now. Yeah, so that area under the curve, as we grow it out, that's not difficult. That's quite conceivable. In fact, the metrics are that every individual member contributes in value in kind donations $16,000 per annum. Okay, so don't stress about that $2.84 a month that you're costing the organization. You're actually delivering in value way more than it's costing, and that's the reality of it. Okay, so call to action: join, get your buddies to join, but be super careful. Okay, it's not a opening up the floodgates and getting anyone to join. If you know of critical thinkers in your Rolodex, invite them to join and be our champion. And you could donate. There's a donate button. You know, we're not big on, you know, the NPR like donation drive or the pathetic PBS type of cap in hand. Hey, you know, we're only on the air because of our supporters. I don't want to be that organization. We don't want to be that type of organization. But there is a donation button, and we've got donations through that. I think it's about $1,800 came in through that button. So thanks so much. Sponsorship. Now here's where businesses are buying value. They're buying market opportunity. They're buying a marketing presence. They have budget for this. And we turn out to be really good value for money, especially for technology companies that are looking to get their technology in front of a developer audience. Our conferences, like the Scale Conference is likely to have 3,500 to 4,000 audience. That audience is largely developers. And so for companies like Sneak.io, and if you know any other companies like that in that vein, make an introduction, make a warm introduction so that we can then take it over the edge, so that Jim Chappell has an easier job to convert them to becoming sponsors. He can say, hey, you can sponsor the workshop, you can sponsor the symposium. He's got 4 or 5 different packages of sponsorship. You can sponsor the networking mixer. You can sponsor the investor mixer. You can sponsor the hackathon by putting up prizes. Those don't need to be cash prizes. You can sponsor with in-kind donations to say, hey, hackathon winners, you know, if you win, here's credits for our service, you know, here's cloud credits and so on. That is a well understood mechanism of sponsorship. So if you know of any of those, pass them our way. Thank you so much, Matt. You've done that already. And Sneak, I think we're Jim's on the way to converting them to be sponsors. Great. Well, look, here's our social media presence. Our YouTube channel has maybe 700 hours of content on it. Only some of it's publicly available. It's the public content. The rest of it is available. You have to actually access it through Slack. We should think about that, and we should think about, now we're a year in, maybe there is the PyOS. We can now make last year's PyOS workgroup meetings available. I don't know. We have to think about that, but these are great opportunities. Our LinkedIn traffic, at least my personal LinkedIn traffic, I'm getting 3,000 impressions for the posts we're doing. We had this debate early on. Hey, let's try and grow the Kwaai following. I think we've got maybe 1,000 followers. I haven't looked recently, but that could grow more. We've got a newsletter that, frankly, I've not been keeping up with. I posted recently, and we got some good coverage on that. But we can do better, and we should do better on all sorts of things. The SEO on Kwaai.ai is horrible. In fact, Kwaai.ai is in urgent need of a redo. Anybody that wants to participate in the rework of Kwaai.ai, get in touch with Greg Spector. Greg was there he is, he's on the call. Okay. And Greg's pulling together the team to drive the redesign of the Kwaai website. I think that's important. I think that's, it should be a functioning website that manages a number of funnels. There should be a member funnel. We should seriously think about, should there be a back end to the Kwaai website where people can log in, and you've got a logged in experience and you've got a public unlogged in experience. So maybe the website becomes a portal to the work groups. Don't know. Great. The rest of it's kind of appendix information, our compliance information, and then the appendices, all of the various letters from the membership team, and then the letters of testimonial from our partners. So thank you so much. This has been a great year. You should be proud of yourself. 2024 was a year in which we grew the organization. 2025, the theme should be the year in which we deploy personal AI. We're not there yet, but we are tantalizingly close to do that. I'm going to stop talking now. Gosh, we've gone over. I've talked for over an hour. That's ridiculous. Let me stop there and take a drink. No, let's take some comment from I've talked for an hour. Okay, let me stop sharing. I'm going to take some comment from the rest of you. Maybe this flows into the idea exchange. But okay, let's hear any questions. I see there's lots of chat. Okay, so I'm going to look at the chat and see what's going on here.
Yeah. Hey, Risa, this is Cam. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I was just going to say, I made a comment in the chat that I thought the expenditure per member that we're making is a really interesting metric to be tracking as a way to financially articulate the value creation. And I don't know if the number itself is in the right ballpark, but that's a really cool way to be looking at this, and to be able to track that sort of in conjunction with our overall growth metrics, and make sure that they're in the right relationship, whatever we define that to be.
Yeah, I mean those are hard numbers. Those are bank account and credit card spreadsheets going through processing the whole thing, and yeah, so it's a great metric. It's a big eye opener. Yeah, it's costing $2 a month per user, but so that's $2. That's over a year. It's 20, maybe even $30. Let's say $30 in cost. But the value that gets generated, you can also account for, and that was $16,000 over the year. So the cost is completely swamped. And so when you ask sponsors to or even donors to donate, you're basically saying, we want a matching donation, and here's the bang you're going to get for your buck. So I want to not couch this as cap in hand donations, but these are matching contributions. Matching contributions. The individual volunteers have contributed. Now it's your turn to match their contribution. Okay, Doc, what's new in your world?
Sorry, I was on mute there. Just a very busy holiday season. I'm sorry I wasn't in on earlier on the call. In fact, I'm sitting here thinking, given the trillions that are being spent on corporate AI right now, that we can't get some dandruff off the head of that thing. I mean, it's just sort of astonishing to me that
It's astonishing, isn't it?
I don't know how to get my head around it. I really don't. It's just and I'm not sure what to make of it, except that at some point lightning needs to strike. There's just such an imbalance of energy going to the to big AI and a paucity.
I think we can do it. I think
we can too. I'm not. This is not a lack of optimism on my part. It's just more like I'm just astonished it hasn't hit yet. But we're standing in the right place, and the lightning should hit. So that's sort of where
exactly.
I'm
We're standing in the right place.
right now.
We're holding on to the metal rod.
It's sort of like, yeah, exactly. We're sort of at the top of the hill holding a metal pole, and it's like something should happen here.
Yeah, exactly. Look, the recipe of you shaking your Rolodex, and
yeah,
I think it'll work. I think
I'm very gratified that Jim's here, and that we've got a lot of good people. And there's I think the next the next VRM day in IW are going to be good. Consumer Reports is going to be back. They're very focused on just the one thing they're working on, which is a permission slip, but it has AI in it, and it's about personal AI. And we can get our stuff in there, that'd be great. If we don't, it's still fine. I think having them in the along for that ride will be great. So I'm optimistic.
Right. Okay. Well, look, it was your introduction to Inflection, to Ted Shelton, and Inflection got us a meeting with Sean White. Sean White's going to be a guest speaker February 21st, and then we're trying to get him to be a sponsor for the summit.
Oh, great.
I mean, they're bathed in cash at the moment.
I mean, they've abandoned exactly where we are.
Exactly.
And so,
and they're a B Corp, and they have a social responsibility. Yes, they've pivoted hard over to corporate AI, and my pitch to him was, hey, Kwaai could help you honor your commitment to public good. And let's just circle the wagons around that organization. I know we're on a public call here, but I've reached out to their founder, Reid Hoffman, and I've reached out to him through Chris Ye, and Chris is was a guest speaker a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I've met Reid. I haven't seen him since 2003. So
let's circle the wagons there.
But he ought to get this. I mean, I would think that he ought to get this.
Exactly. One of his recent blog posts just before Christmas was like a bullseye for what Kwaai is all about.
Yeah, I have to look at that.
So I don't have a direct connection.
If anybody has a link on that.
So I send stuff to Chris. I say, please pass this on to Reid. Okay. So look, there are all sorts of other angles. I don't think. Well, okay. I was hopeful that Mozilla or Linux Foundation or Red Hat would be would get it straight away. It seems to be taking a lot longer. Michael, I'm still waiting for that warm intro. Was it you, Michael Grossman?
Which one? Tell me again.
Was it to Mozilla?
To Mozilla? Let's see.
Did you offer somebody else?
I mean,
No, maybe
it
not.
might have been somebody else. I mean, Ben Moskowitz, former, I met him when he was with Mozilla, but and now with CR. But
I don't recall.
not
It was
sure.
somebody in our group said, "Hey, I can make an intro," and it probably wasn't. No, okay, I know who. I know it was. I think it was Richard. It's more likely that it was Richard, wasn't it? Because Richard was former Mozilla. Okay.
Well, I've got my mic open. I just want to mention one other thing about this, the waiting for lightning to strike and the investment that should be being made in this. It's just like what happened in Internet 2.0, where, the attention economy was so much more lucrative. Just the upside is so much higher in exploitative AI. I mean, that's the reason that the money isn't going to AI that's responsible to people and to society. And that's a tough thing to bust as a commercial investment, as a VC investment. But I think our virtue of being a nonprofit and doing something where people are, benefiting and want to support it, and grant giving organizations and nonprofits, et cetera, want to support it is the way.
I hear you on that one. I struggle also with trying to think. Let's see, was it Dana Blankenhorn? Doc, you introduced us to him.
Yeah, Dana Blankenhorn.
Yeah, he said, yeah, Kwaai, all well and good, but you got to provide people. If you can provide people a way of earning money, then you're onto a winner. So I didn't dismiss what he said there. It's kind of echoing what you're saying, Michael, but it's not how to make corporations earn money. It's how can you make rank and file individuals, the general public, earn money from their own personal data, or contributing at the edge in AI infrastructure. So it's two ways. And what you have, if it plays out right, then what you have is you're contributing, much like the way you're contributing to the electrical grid with your solar panels. That's the way you're earning money. So I've got my computers. Most of us have got computers in a post-pandemic world. Most of us have got really good broadband at home. When you're not using that resource, it's available to be used by others. So that is the notion of QuaiNet. And once you start showing, hey, you can actually earn money from this, you can make a passive income from this, then I think that could be super interesting.
I don't think it's just about making money, though. I think there's what JP Rangaswamy and I called because effects. This goes back more than 2 decades. That, money was never made with Linux. The money was made because of Linux, and the amount of the internet itself doesn't make any money. The TCP/IP is not a business, not much of a business. Okay, but you make money because of it. It's because it's in the world, and the hard thing for people to get their head around is that the people here, we got our heads are around it, but I think outside of this cabal is that empowered individuals are enormously good for an economy, and we need more power as customers, as citizens, as participants than we have right now. And with personal AI, we can have a lot of it, and it can all be constructive. And it doesn't necessarily mean just that we're going to be always participating in the economic system, but having much better self-knowledge about, our property, our health, our finances, all these things that are not necessarily for sale, but make us better participants in the economy. This is important stuff, but it's very, very hard to get that across. It just is. And we have the example of open source sitting out there. but it still doesn't seem to click that much yet, but we'll make it click.
Right. Let's hear from some other voices. We've got Darius, we haven't heard from you in a while, and JD, we haven't heard from you in a while. What's new, Darius?
I'll just pop on and mention that I found that Reid Hoffman article. I put it in the chat, a link. But
Fantastic.
he's talking about human agency, which, I think is perfectly aligned with what we're talking about here. And and that's really the key. It's not even, my digital twin makes money for me. It's how
It's agency, right?
how is there some kind of way that I am able to take the accumulation of everything that I know and have created and everything else, and then, with tools, do more with that, and
Sure.
and I think that's fascinating. So anyway, here to learn.
Yeah, super agency is what happens when a critical mass of individuals personally empowered by AI begin to operate at levels that compound throughout society. That's his quote. Fantastic. Thanks so much, Doc, for saying that. I think I'm gonna send another letter to Reid via Chris, and we really need to get him connected with us. I saw Daniel's hand go up briefly, but JD, you're off. You want JD? Why don't you go next, and then
I'll be quick.
Daniel after that. Yeah,
I'll be quick. And there's so much in the conversations I'm having out there. I wouldn't say confusion, but everybody's talking in different areas of AI, whether it's agentic composite that John Thompson talked about. But Reza, as we all know, is a rock star, as he is featured here. A full chapter, but he talks about Kwaai.
Fantastic.
Through the whole interview, and it's a great description of the mission and vision of Kwaai that he gives in that. And I'll throw out that chapter to everybody here so you can see that and support Reza in this organization. But to the mission and vision of Kwaai, but also personal AI, I don't want it to get lost in the AI conversations that a lot of us, Daniel, I'm sure you're having those as well, that we're having. So anyway, I just want to give a shout out to Reza. Thank you so much for being part of this journey and book that I've had, but also it's a great opportunity right now as a lot of organizations are resetting in 2025 to push what personal AI can do for them as organizations going forward. So anyway.
Thanks so much, JD. I asked you on LinkedIn, when do you sleep?
2026, I think, is what I said. That'll be the good year.
Fantastic. Okay, Daniel Wilson, you briefly had your hand up.
I'm good. I just had some ideas, but honestly, I think Doc's covered a lot of what my points would have been, which is just, our agent itself is a way to package and, provide our preferences at a price to people who create things that we want, it's flipping the tables. And so I think that some of the value derived for the individual would revolve around us being able to package and sell our own marketing preferences. I don't know. I mean, honestly, there's definitely bigger reasons for all this, but I was just thinking of profit, or thinking of something that drives money, because
I think both have to happen. I think, yes, it needs to be for good, but you also need to show them, hey, it actually makes economic sense to individuals. Much like putting solar panels on your roof. Yeah, I wouldn't do it just for saving the planet.
Yeah, it's a Swiss Army knife.
A few people. But when people are shown, hey, this actually reduces your electrical bill, you think, oh wow, okay, now I can do good, and I can do good.
Yeah, and I'm going to be meeting with people who are working on more edge type technologies and high temperature type stuff and things that really, give us a boost for our efforts and in terms of infrastructure and things like that. Just all the way around, things are heading in that direction, and everything makes sense. So anyway, and I'm a part of the website effort. I've already stuck my neck out, and I'm a part of that queue, so I'll be helping out there as
Thank you
well
so
when that
much.
comes around. So anyway, look, I don't want to drag this on here. Hey, do you guys still do the second meeting? I mean, we do that?
Well, yes, but we're not going to do that.
Okay, not today. Okay, I
I'm
just
going to
want to check.
suggest not
All right,
doing the second
gotcha.
meeting and
All right.
give you back the remainder of the time. Let's cap this at 11:30. Any other voices before we sum up and get on with the weekend? I'm going to be at a
So
conference.
is this the idea part of the
Okay.
I have one. I have
Okay.
one, and it's not a complete idea. It's actually a fairly obvious idea. It may be, I don't know. Okay. So I'm remembering what we did with Linux. And my involvement with it was Linux Journal. Okay. I was the editor of Linux Journal and editor, and then finally editor in chief. There was not a personal AI journal. We could start a personal AI journal. Um, that's, I mean, I'd be glad to take everything I've written so far. There's about 15 pieces or something, dump them in there. I think there are other people writing good stuff about this. I think having that journal might be a thing. It could be part of the website. I see now 2 hands have gone up. Michael and Bry both have their hands up. So anyway, that's my idea.
I like it. Okay. We do have a personal AI pulse, which is a newsletter on LinkedIn, but I think having it somewhere outside of LinkedIn and having it in more of a blog format, or I think your website has got a lot of credibility and a lot of following, and we should just maybe automate the reposting of that to LinkedIn. I don't know if that's done already. Okay, let's hear from the others. So Michael had his hand up first, and then Bry.
Well, I do want to react to what Doc was just saying about it, and you were just saying about a journal, and I would be eager to get involved with that, and would, even though it seems a little counterintuitive here, think that there might be something to having a physical compilation quarterly or an annual or something like that. And I say that as an old print person. And the thing I had my hand up for, though, was just to mention something that I'd mentioned in the text. Out of curiosity, I mean, what I said in the text was, on numerous occasions, I've heard you, Reza, harshly dismiss the public broadcasting mode and use the words pathetic and cap in hand and
sorry.
begging, which I mean, I just want to question it, just because I think the member-supported avenue is very incentive aligned, and more so than corporate sponsorship. The $2 per member is a really, I think, as Cam was saying, motivating thing to focus on. And, we want to be publicly supported and want to be a consumer focused movement, not using the word consumer advisedly, individual citizen, inspired movement. So I just wanted to bring it up as a subject for conversation, because obviously you have some negative
this
feelings
is
about it.
interesting. Sorry, Michael, you saying charge a membership fee to individuals? No?
Well, I mean, I think in a growth metric, in a growth strategy, thinking about this as, the importance of it being a nonprofit, the importance of it not being aligned with the corporate interests that most citizens feel screwed by. The idea that this should be a member-supported entity and not featuring a bunch of logos. Like I remember a few years ago, there was a corporate, a internet citizenship movement that put forth a Bill of Rights, and then it was signed on to by, it was pre-Meta. It was like, Facebook and Google and, all these. And how could you get behind that as your Bill of Rights? And I'm just
okay. No, I
questioning
get that. Okay.
and bringing up that, it is fine to go after nonprofit and grant support and stuff like that, as opposed, I mean, the corporate sponsorship thing, we're an attractive audience, I realize, and we'll become more attractive, but it's a little unincentive aligned to the public.
Yes. Okay. I think that warrants deeper conversation. I mean, you can tell I've been holding off from that corporate membership for quite a while, and it's for that reason. Okay. So Bry and then Brian. Bry.
Yeah, just want to third, I guess, what Doc said about a pie journal. I think that there's definitely a gap and a niche, and that could be a great channel and platform, whatever the format. And then second, yeah, the membership, I think decentralizing revenue rather than creating corporate wells of influence is yeah, absolutely a consideration. And then my 30-second idea exchange for today is a little bit more technical in nature, and that is that now that reasoning models are generating tokens, and it's basically put personal AI optimization more clearly in the not pre-training world, but post-training, or they call it runtime execution world. Because we can use existing pre-trained models and open source models like, Llama. And so a combination now of RAG, retrieval augmented generation, with reasoning is where we're going to actually get the accuracy and I think the personalization. So that's my idea to put forth.
Okay, very good. Brian, you up next?
Yes. So Doc mentioned what we did with Linux and went from his viewpoint of what he had done with Linux Journal. And that made me think about the part of Linux that I was involved in, which was the grassroots outreach, the Linux user groups, that kind of thing. And it occurs to me that that is something that, we've brought up before, and we should focus on that. A big part of Linux was also that sort of thing, the local Linux user groups, and general just development of understanding, development of community. So we've talked about going to existing meetups, which, when we were going to start our Linux user group, we went to other user groups. At the time, there weren't many meetups. There were just, a few other Linux user groups in certain other areas adjacent to ours. And so we should be going to other meetups, but we should also be trying to foster meetups that are devoted to personal AI and people learning about the tools that are available to them. It doesn't even have to be just focused on Kwaai. As we make people more aware of the tools that are available to them, then Kwaai becomes a natural transition, where people will start looking at what we're doing and seeing how that may affect what their interests are. So I think we really need to start talking about how to get some sort of, we definitely need a more organized outreach to existing tech meetups, and then maybe we should be starting some meetups that are devoted to the topic of personal AI. And I think that also handles to some degree, or it touches upon some of the things that Michael was saying with that again, that grassroots, that broader outreach, because we never had to ask for dues or membership or that kind of thing in Linux, but there wasn't an organization guiding it. I mean, we had a few organizations evolve over time, but the core of Linux really was that grassroots effort. So I think if we can get a grassroots effort going alongside the Kwaai effort, I think that will be a strong ally.
Thanks so much, Brian. Anybody else got any feedback for Brian? Like, are there particular meetups that you have in mind? And meetups, if they're going to be in-person meetups, these, we're not all in the same place. I think you and I are in the LA area, so we go to the stuff that we can get access to locally, but we have to do this in various regions. Okay, Good.
But it
So
starts somewhere. It
it
does start
starts
somewhere. I
somewhere.
mean, with Linux, it started in the Bay Area and it moved to, LA and a few other places like that, Seattle and so on. So I think, it does have to start somewhere. If we get some groups started and then maybe get sort of a super group, a sort of an umbrella. There were some organizations that were devoted to helping Linux user groups, profligate. There were, hey, you want to start a Linux user group? Here's some resources to help you and that sort of thing. And then encouraging people to start them up all over the country and all over the world.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. In fact, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. I'm getting a little hoarse. How are we for maybe calling it here? I think we've exhausted the conversation. Next week we're gonna get back to normal service, work groups, and as usual. I've got a couple of events coming up. January in San Diego is TechCon. So if anyone's in San Diego on January 17, I believe. Let me just see if I can get that up. TechCon San Diego is going to be TechCon SoCal 2025. It's going to be that's the important thing about conferences. You should put the date right on the homepage. Wow. Okay. They're proud of their conference. It's $200 is the attendance fee. Maybe we're charging too little for ours. Anyone that's down in San Diego, I could meet up with you. Hey, student ticket for 140. Okay. So I'm going to be down in San Diego January 16th, 17th, 18th. And if anyone's down in that area, we'd like to meet up with you. I think there are a few people that are not on the call that I will be meeting with. And so that's that. And then, well, look, all of our energies are going into the March conference. And if you have folks that want to participate in the conference, the SoCal Linux Expo. So we've got Scale, and then they list us as one of the co-located events. If you go to Kwaai Personal AI Summit, we're in there. That gets to our webpage, and here we go. Here are the current speakers. If you have any others that want to join, let us know. And there's the registration button. There's the sponsorship button. If you sponsor, there's a number of sponsorship packages, and this is what Jim Chappell is selling. And it's yay, little animation going on there. And diamond, platinum, gold, startup sponsorship, and you can see what's available for each of those sponsorship packages. Where do you see that? More details. There we go. Okay. So it makes me, when I look at this, I need to make sure I add all the details to that. I think the details are on the previous page. Okay. So very good. I will leave you all. Make sure we're going to resume normal service next week, and the priority is to get the Pi assistant deployed in the iBridge data center. Then we can all kick the tires on it, and then the fun starts. Okay, keep well, everybody. Hope you have a good weekend.
Thanks, everybody.
Great, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.